On the day of our engagement, Marcus didn't show up at the agreed time. He only sent an aide to my door to deliver a message. You took a necklace Chloe liked last time, embarrassing her at the exclusive gala. Today is just a lesson for you. We'll proceed with the engagement once you apologize to Chloe. I stood before the mirror, dressed in a pristine engagement gown, listening to Marcus's aide relay the cold message. My fingertips dug into my palm, the pain bringing me back to my senses. Marcus personally bought that necklace for me, I said, my voice chillingly calm. If likes it, he should buy her one, not play these games on my engagement day. The aide froze. I turned, and in front of all the guests, I ripped off my veil. The engagement is off. I picked up my phone. Instead of dialing the number I knew by heart, I called Sarah, a journalist from Sterling City's most reputable financial weekly. I had once inadvertently helped her out significantly. Sarah, I have a story for you. Mr. Marcus, CEO of Hayes, unilaterally cancelled his engagement ceremony scheduled for today by not attending. The reason appears to involve MS. Chloe, yes, you can verify it. An official statement will be released shortly. After hanging up, I logged into the Facebook account Marcus and I shared. He barely used it, and the password was still my birthday. I posted an update with just one sentence: engagement cancelled. Reason: plenty of fish in the sea. At Marcus at Chloe accompanying the post was the sapphire necklace that started it all, along with a screenshot of Marcus's flight information to Paris a month ago, showing Chloe's simultaneous location in Paris. I had unintentionally saved it while organizing his itinerary, not thinking much of it at the time. After doing all this, I silenced my phone and tossed it aside. Within 10 minutes, my phone started to be bombarded by calls from all sides. Marcus's call was the first to come through, ringing persistently again and again. I answered, my voice utterly calm. Hello? Grace, are you insane? Marcus's voice had lost its usual composure, laced with furious shock. Do you have any idea what you're doing? Delete that post immediately. Explain to the public that it was a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? I chuckled. Sending an aide to humiliate me on my engagement day, is that a misunderstanding? Using as an excuse to make a scene, is that a misunderstanding? Marcus, do you really think I'll always stand here waiting for you? He paused, his breathing heavy, trying to regain control. Have you considered the partnership between our families by doing this? Have you considered the consequences? Consequences? My voice turned cold. The moment you decided to humiliate me for her, you should have considered the consequences. Business partnership? Tell your legal department to prepare the termination letter. Also, consider this your notice. I've had my housekeeper pack up your belongings from my apartment. They'll be delivered to your office reception in half an hour. Make sure you collect them. Without waiting for his response, I decisively hung up, looking at myself in the mirror, still in my elegant dress but with cold, sharp eyes. I felt an unprecedented sense of exhilaration surge through me after a tearing pain. Less than 2 hours later, Chloe posted a tearful video on her personal page. Barefaced, with reddened eyes, she appeared fragile and innocent. That necklace, I really loved it, and I mentioned it to Grace. I never thought she'd react that way. I'm truly heartbroken that things have escalated like this. She sobbed. Marcus and I have just been friends since childhood. He's always looked out for me. I never imagined it would cause such a huge misunderstanding for Grace, or make her make such an impulsive decision on her engagement day. I apologize to her on Marcus's behalf and hope she won't continue to misjudge him. In the video, she skillfully portrayed herself as a misunderstood little sister, while I became the jealous, impulsive, overreacting villainess. The comment section was instantly flooded with poor and Grace, come out and apologize. Marcus even commented from his official account, Chloe, this isn't your fault. No need to apologize. This move made me nearly gag. Impulsive? Misunderstood? I watched the one-sided barrage of criticism online, my heart feeling like it was plunged into ice water. Yet my mind was exceptionally clear. They thought I was still the Grace who would silently endure for Marcus. It was time to show them what impulsive really meant. I contacted Sarah and sent her an audio recording and several chat log screenshots. Sarah, this is the complete truth about the necklace incident from my perspective. As for MS. Chloe's platonic friendship, I also have some interesting information you can consider reporting. Sarah moved quickly. That evening, a detailed report titled Platonic or Manipulative? Uncovering the Truth Between the Hayes and Roberts and the Truth the Necklace was published. The report clearly presented proof that Marcus had actively bid on and gifted the necklace to me. An audio recording of Chloe publicly mocking me at an exclusive gala, saying I didn't deserve that necklace, thanks to a close friend who couldn't stand her. Most damning were several old but crystal clear screenshots, Chloe's explicit declarations of love for Marcus, posted on her private social media account years ago, and comments from mutual friends teasing her about her delusional infatuation. This utterly shredded her facade of a simple little sister. Public opinion instantly reversed. It turns out Chloe was the one causing trouble out of unrequited love. Is blind? Humiliating his fiancé for a manipulative woman like that? Grace. Well done. This counterattack is so satisfying. My phone was bombarded again, but this time, with many messages of support and apologies from friends. Marcus's call came through once more. This time, his voice was unbelievably hoarse and filled with suppressed rage. Grace, where did you get those screenshots? You had this planned all along, didn't you? I don't have that much free time to plan, I said coldly. It just so happens that I have a habit of not liking to be played for a fool. When posted those back then, she forgot to block my best friend. He fell silent. After a long pause, he managed to squeeze out, must we really go to such extremes? Extremes? I laughed, a trace of weary sarcasm in my voice. Marcus, the moment you decided to teach me a lesson for her on our engagement day, you sealed our fate. I hung up and blocked all his contact information. The reversal of public opinion made Marcus and Chloe targets of widespread criticism. I blocked all news about them, trying to get my life back on track, but clearly wasn't going to let me off the hook. That evening, I worked late into the night and drove alone back to my apartment's underground parking garage. Just as I got out of my car, blinding headlights shone directly at me, making it hard to open my eyes. The engine cut off, and Marcus stepped out of the familiar black sedan, slamming the door shut. He was impeccably dressed in a suit, but the grimness in his eyes was colder than the air in the basement. He approached me step by step, radiating an intense pressure. Grace. He stopped in front of me, his voice devoid of apology, only the chilling tone of accusation. Have you had enough of this spectacle? I clutched my car keys, forcing myself to look him directly in the eye. Mr. Marcus, to what do I owe this visit? Clean up all that nonsense online and publicly apologize to Chloe, he ordered, his tone leaving no room for doubt. Your little games end here. I almost laughed in anger. Little games? Marcus, the facts are clear. You and Chloe brought this humiliation upon yourselves. Facts? He sneered, leaning in close, his gaze as sharp as a blade. Your so-called evidence, an edited audio recording, old social media posts from years ago? Grace, you're still too green to play the public opinion game. I can have our legal department sue you for defamation, and you and your little journalist friend will face severe consequences. He paused, his voice growing colder, delivering a naked threat. And don't forget, Vance's crucial overseas project is still waiting for investment from Hayes. Your father must be under considerable pressure lately, wouldn't you say? My heart sank. He truly resorted to this tactic, threatening me with my family's business. This was the man I once loved, so directly shameless. You're shameless. I spat the words through clenched teeth. I gave you a chance, he said, straightening up and adjusting his cuff, resuming his condescending posture. You chose the hard way. Apologize, retract the articles, and then publicly announce it was a misunderstanding and that we simply broke up amicably due to incompatible personalities. Otherwise, he left the threat unspoken, the chill in his eyes saying it all. Marcus's threat felt like a boulder crushing my heart. I couldn't risk my father's office, but I absolutely couldn't back down to him. Waiting to be defeated wasn't my style. Since he was resorting to business tactics, I would find a spear on this battlefield that could pierce his shield. I thought of Julian. Thorne and Hayes had been rivals for years, their strengths nearly equal. More importantly, Julian and Marcus had a long-standing personal animosity, which was no secret in their circles. I had met Julian once at a charity gala. He had politely given me a business card, saying, "Ms. Grace, if you ever run into trouble, perhaps we could talk." At the time, I'd merely taken it as a polite gesture. Now, it was my only breakthrough. Without hesitation, I dialed that private number first thing the next morning. The call connected, and a deep, calm male voice answered. "This is Julian. Mr. Julian. I apologize for the intrusion. This is Grace." I tried to make my voice sound calm and composed, regarding some recent events and Hayes's upcoming moves. "I believe I have some information that might interest you. Mr. Julian, might I take a moment of your time?" There was a 2-second silence on the other end. Then a crisp reply, 3 o'clock this afternoon. The tea. The suite. All right. Thank you, Mr. Julian. That afternoon, I arrived at the tea 10 minutes early. It was a secluded private tea house. When the waiter led me into the suite, Julian was already there. He sat before the tea ceremony table by the window, dressed in a dark gray custom suit. No tie. The top button of his shirt casually undone. He appeared more composed and sharp than I remembered, exuding a subtle yet powerful aura. Seeing me, he nodded slightly and gestured for me to sit, without any superfluous pleasantries. Ms. Grace, please speak. He personally poured a cup of tea and pushed it towards me, his gaze calm yet deeply penetrating. I took a deep breath and got straight to the point. Due to the recent public opinion controversy, Marcus may use Hayes's resources to pressure my father's company, aiming to force my compromise. I know Thorne and Hayes are fierce competitors for the development. I paused, observing his reaction. His expression remained unchanged. He merely rubbed the rim of his teacup with his fingertips, signaling me to continue. I have some clues regarding Marcus's personal conduct and potentially non-compliant practices when he handled certain projects. These were details I had noticed unintentionally over the past few years but never thought to use. Of course, these aren't enough to bring him down, but they might create an unexpected opportunity for Mr. Julian when he's fully focused on targeting Vance. Julian finally raised his gaze, his deep eyes looking directly at me. Ms. Grace, what do you want to gain? It's simple. I met his gaze without flinching. First, I hope Thorne can provide a short-term bridge loan equivalent to the amount Hayes threatens to withdraw, or a project partnership of similar weight, to help my father overcome any potential difficulties. Second, at the right time, I will need Mr. Julian's influence to make Marcus and Chloe pay the price they deserve for everything they've done. He watched me silently, the only sound in the air the soft bubbling of boiling water. After a while, a faint, almost imperceptible curve touched the corner of his lips. Ms. Grace, you have more courage than I imagined, he said slowly, using an opponent's spear to attack their shield. Very interesting. He picked up his teacup and took a shallow sip. I can consider your terms. However, cooperation requires sincerity and value. The clues you provide will need to be evaluated by me, and the extent of your role in this confrontation will determine how many resources Thorne will commit. He set down the teacup, his gaze sharp. This is a dangerous game. Ms. Grace, are you sure you want to play? The moment I decided to call off the engagement, I was already in the game. I said firmly, now, I just want to change the rules so I can win. Julian nodded, an inscrutable glint flashing in his deep eyes. Very well, then. A pleasure doing business with you, Ms. Grace. As I left the tea, the sunlight was somewhat dazzling. I knew I had just struck a deal with a man more dangerous and inscrutable than Marcus. My meeting with Julian temporarily steadied my mind, but I knew the real storm was just beginning. I began to organize the clues I could provide Julian, while also closely monitoring Marcus and Vance's movements. However, what awaited me wasn't Marcus's business suppression, but a shocking piece of news. Chloe had attempted suicide. The news broke in the early hours of the morning, instantly hitting #1 on trending topics. Reports stated that Chloe had ingested an overdose of sleeping pills at home. Fortunately, her assistant discovered her in time, and she was rushed to the hospital. After emergency treatment, she was out of danger but in extremely poor mental health. Almost simultaneously, a carefully edited audio of Chloe's farewell message audio spread like wildfire online. Her voice was weak, despairing, and choked with tears. I'm sorry, everyone. I really can't go on. The online malice is like knives stabbing my heart. I admit, I liked Marcus, but I never meant to ruin anything. It's just that this feeling I kept hidden has now become my original sin. Grace, I'm sorry. If my existence causes you such pain, then it's better if I just disappear. I wish you and Marcus happiness. As soon as the audio was released, coupled with the suicide for love hashtag, public opinion instantly reversed again. She drove someone to their death. Is happy now? Is this the truth you wanted? Pushing a girl to the brink. The wealthy elite are truly terrifying. Grace, come out and take responsibility. My phone was instantly flooded with countless abusive messages and unknown calls. Even my father called, his voice heavy. Grace, this has gotten too big. The family on their end. I stood by my apartment's floor-to-ceiling window, my hands and feet turning cold as I watched the reporters and righteous passersby who had gathered downstairs, holding up a protest banner that read Grace, murderer. What a tactical retreat! Chloe's pity play was truly vicious. She not only completely whitewashed her image as a devoted, vulnerable woman but also heaped all the public pressure and moral condemnation onto me like a mountain. Now, in the public eye, I was the malicious woman who, out of jealousy, drove someone to suicide. Just then, my doorbell rang with an ominous sharpness. Through the peephole, I saw Marcus standing outside, his face ashen, his eyes filled with undisguised, surging fury and hatred. I didn't open the door. He started pounding on the door, his voice distorted by rage. Grace, open the door. Have you seen the news? Are you satisfied now? If anything happens to Chloe, I'll make you pay with your life. His roars came through the thick door, every word like a poisoned arrow. I leaned my back against the door, slowly sliding down to the floor. Outside were Marcus's furious threats and pounding. Online was an overwhelming torrent of abuse, and downstairs were the ravenous media. A feeling of being besieged and utterly helpless instantly consumed me. Chloe had pushed me to the brink with this extreme tactic. She wasn't just trying to ruin my reputation. She was trying to completely break my spirit. I clenched my fists, my nails digging deep into my palms. Fear and anger clashed within my chest. I told myself I had to stay calm. The pounding on the door and the roaring outside continued, like the cries of a trapped beast. I knew that escaping wouldn't solve anything. It would only make the madman outside more frantic and Chloe, hiding in the shadows, more triumphant. I took a deep breath and abruptly pulled open the door. Marcus's hand froze in midair from pounding the door, his bloodshot eyes fixed on me, churning with overwhelming fury and an almost maniacal pain. You finally dared to come out? He strode across the threshold, an immense sense of pressure instantly enveloping me, radiating an air of menace. Marcus. I interrupted him, my voice exceptionally calm, a stark contrast to his rage. This is my home, not a place for you to act out. If you want to rage, go back to Chloe's hospital bedside and do it there. This sentence completely ignited him. He grabbed my wrist, squeezing with a force that felt like it would crush my bones. Grace, you still show no remorse? Look at what you've done to Chloe. She almost died. Don't you feel any guilt at all? A sharp pain shot through my wrist, but I didn't struggle. I just met his gaze coldly. Why should I feel guilty? Because she's too good an actress, too ruthless with herself? Marcus, use your brain for once. Would someone truly wanting to die notify their assistant beforehand? Would they conveniently edit a farewell message audio to sound so pitiful, and then upload it online immediately? You're still slandering her. The veins on his forehead bulged, and he shoved me backward. I stumbled, hitting the entryway cabinet, a dull ache shooting through my lower back. The facts are right here. It's you. It's your so-called evidence. It's the online bullying you incited that pushed her to the brink. Grace, how did I never realize you were so malicious before? I steadied myself against the cabinet, watching him lose all composure and go mad over another woman. Even the long-frozen part of my heart felt a fine, splintering pain, like cracking ice. I'm malicious? I laughed, my voice laced with endless sorrow and sarcasm. Marcus, you are the one who slowly turned me into this. It was you who abandoned me for her on our engagement day. It was you who threatened my father's office when I fought back. Now, Chloe pulls a pity play, and you're so eager to pin the murderer label on me. I stepped closer to him, and though I was at a height disadvantage, the determination and coldness in my eyes made him instinctively take half a step back. You keep saying I pushed her, but what about you? You knew full well how she felt about you, yet you constantly gave her hope, tacitly allowing her to provoke me again and again, using her hostility towards me to satisfy your own vanity of being fought over by two women. Marcus, you are the most hypocritical and cowardly person. Chloe's madness today is largely thanks to you. These words seemed to strike a hidden nerve. His face instantly turned pale, his eyes flickering intensely. Beneath his rage, a flicker of almost imperceptible panic crossed his face. You're talking nonsense. Whether I'm talking nonsense, you know deep down, I didn't back down. You only ever see Chloe's fragility, but never my grievances. You always think she needs protection, and that I deserve to be strong. I paused, took a deep breath, and with all my strength, spoke my final words. Marcus, our engagement died the moment you walked out of our ceremony. Now, for Chloe, you're calling for my head. Fine. Very fine. I pointed to the door. my voice chilling to the bone. Now, get out of my apartment. As for the truth behind Chloe's suicide attempt, I will uncover it when the evidence is laid bare. I hope you can still stand by her as self-righteously as you do now. As for you, I looked at his pale face, pronouncing each word distinctly. The biggest regret of my life is that I ever loved you. Marcus froze as if struck by lightning, staring intently at me. His lips moved, as if to speak, but ultimately, no sound came out. The overwhelming rage seemed to drain from him in an instant, leaving only an empty, bewildered disbelief. He no longer roared or threatened, but like a lost and disheartened statue, he retreated step by step from my apartment, the sound of the door closing almost imperceptible. The moment the door closed, all strength seemed to drain from my body, and I slid down the cabinet to the floor. The pain in my lower back, the bruises on my wrist, none compared to the dull, desolate ache in my chest. But I knew I had overcome this hurdle. I had torn through his false sense of righteousness and planted a seed of doubt in his heart. I picked up my phone and dialed Julian's number, my voice still carrying a faint, imperceptible tremor, but my tone was exceptionally firm. Mr. Julian, it seems our cooperation needs to accelerate. I need to know the full truth behind Chloe's suicide attempt. After that bitter confrontation with Marcus, the world didn't immediately quiet down. The online insults against me still raged, and the number of reporters staking out downstairs hadn't decreased. Oddly enough, there were no new threats from Marcus's side. Even the previously mentioned business pressure against Vance seemed to have been paused. This abnormal calm, however, made me even more vigilant. A few days later, one afternoon, I received an encrypted file from Julian's aide, along with a brief note. Ms. Grace, you might be interested in some initial findings regarding Ms. Chloe's accident. Mr. Julian says it seems someone else couldn't sit still longer than us. I opened the file. Inside were several blurry but discernible surveillance screenshots. They showed Marcus's assistant frequently entering and exiting a private detective agency known for its privacy protection. The timing was right after Chloe's suicide controversy. Additionally, there was an unconfirmed piece of news. Marcus was secretly investigating Chloe's assistant's bank statements. My heart skipped a beat. Marcus. He suspects? This realization struck me with a sense of absurd irony. Had my desperate accusations that day truly pried open a crack in his mind, which had been clouded by Chloe's tears? Just then, an unfamiliar number called. I hesitated for a moment, then answered. Ms. Grace, said a deliberately lowered middle-aged male voice on the other end. Somewhat familiar, it was David, Marcus's longtime senior aide. Forgive the intrusion, Mr. Marcus. He's been in a very bad mood lately. Shut up in his office. Not seeing anyone. I remained silent, offering no response. David sighed, his voice carrying a subtle hint of helplessness. Mr. Marcus had me pause all pressure processes targeting Vance's projects. Also, he asked me to look into some matters concerning Ms. Chloe. He spoke vaguely, but I understood immediately. Julian's information was indirectly confirmed. David, I said blandly, what are you trying to tell me? Ms. Grace, I've been with Mr. Marcus for 10 years. David's voice was sincere. Some things, perhaps I see more clearly than others. Mr. Marcus, he may not be truly foolish, but sometimes, when you're in the midst of it, you just can't see clearly. He seems to be starting to see now. Starting to see? I tugged at the corner of my mouth, tasting a trace of bitterness. The price was my engagement, my reputation, and my nearly shattered self-respect. Whether he's clear-headed or not is irrelevant to me. My voice was flat. Thank you for the information, but from now on, you don't need to tell me anything more about Marcus. I hung up the phone and walked to the window, watching the camera flashes still flickering downstairs. My emotions complex. Marcus's wavering was like a stone thrown into stagnant water, creating ripples. But the ripples were too faint, and too late. They couldn't wash away the stigma I bore, nor could they repair the damage already done. However, this might be an opportunity to bring the truth to the surface faster and completely shatter Chloe's facade. Cracks were appearing within the enemy's ranks. The abnormal calm from Marcus's side didn't last long. That morning, my team and I were in the office conference room discussing how to handle several partnership projects that had been put on hold due to negative public opinion. The conference room door was violently pushed open with a loud bang, interrupting everyone's thoughts. Chloe stood at the doorway. She was wearing a hospital gown, with an expensive cashmere cardigan casually draped over it. Her face was pale, her lips bloodless, and her eyes swollen and red. She looked frail and unsteady, as if a gust of wind could knock her over. Her pitiful appearance immediately drew the gaze of every employee in the office. "Grace." Her voice was tearful yet shrill, cutting through the air. "Why won't you just leave me alone? I've already been pushed to the brink of death by you. What more do you want? Do I have to die at your office door for you to be satisfied?" Her words were like a drop of cold water into hot oil. The entire office instantly erupted in an uproar, whispers spreading everywhere. Someone secretly started filming with their phone. My team members exchanged nervous glances. I raised a hand, signaling them to remain calm, then slowly stood up and walked towards the doorway. "Ms. Chloe." I looked at her calmly, my tone distant and official. "This is an office building, not a place for private visitors. If you're feeling unwell, you should return to the hospital to rest. If you have any grievances, you can pursue them through legal channels." My calmness seemed to provoke her. She abruptly stepped forward, tears instantly welling up. Her performance exquisite. "Legal channels? Do you think you can do whatever you want just because the Vance family is powerful? You incited online bullying, pushed me to the brink, and now you're pretending to be a good person here? Grace, ask yourself, is it my fault Marcus doesn't love you?" She deliberately raised her voice, ensuring every word echoed clearly throughout the entire floor. I watched her tearful performance, my heart turning cold. I knew she had sensed Marcus's wavering and was desperate, which was why she resorted to this extreme, reckless method to publicly cement my image as malicious and recapture Marcus's protective instinct. "Ms. Chloe." I cut her off, my voice not loud, but carrying an undeniable power that clearly cut through her wailing. "First, Mr. Marcus and I have already called off our engagement. His romantic affiliations are none of my concern. Secondly, regarding your so-called online bullying and being pushed to the brink." I paused, my gaze sweeping over the phone's filming, and said, "Word for word, the truth will come out one day. The only reason you're staging this drama at my office today is because you've realized that the lies and pretenses you depend on are about to crumble, aren't they?" Chloe's crying stopped abruptly, and a flicker of unexpected panic crossed her face. She clearly hadn't anticipated me exposing her so directly. You're talking nonsense." Her eyes darted, her confidence clearly waning. "Whether I'm talking nonsense, you know best." I took a step forward, closing in on her, my voice lowered but with a biting coldness. "Chloe, things obtained through manipulation and deceit never last. Every tear you shed here today will eventually become a slap across your own face." I watched her pupils suddenly constrict and continued, "Now, please leave immediately. Otherwise, I won't hesitate to have security escort you out, or call the police to handle your disruption of our normal office operations." I imagine Ms. Chloe, having just recovered, wouldn't want another visit to the police station for a chat, would she? Chloe's face went from pale to green. She glared at me, her eyes filled with venomous resentment and a hint of disbelief. She probably thought that under the pressure of public opinion, I would retreat, be afraid, and try to calm things down. She underestimated my resolve to burn my bridges. Ultimately, under the scrutinizing gazes of those around us and my unyielding stance, she stomped her foot fiercely, tossed out, "Grace, this isn't over." And then, like a defeated peacock, she turned and slunk away. The office fell into an eerie silence. I turned, facing my team members and all the onlookers, my expression calm once more, just a spectacle. "Everyone, please return to work. Crisis PR team, meeting in 10 minutes. Back in my office, after closing the door, I finally allowed myself a slight tremor. Chloe's madness had exceeded my expectations, though she gained nothing from her scene today. If the video spread, who knew how it would be edited or how much controversy it would stir up? But I wasn't afraid. The crazier she became, the more cracks would appear. Sure enough, the video of Chloe's hysterical scene at the office was posted online, edited out of context. The sensational headline read, "Driving the fiancé to death? Vicious Grace against suicide survivor at her office door." The familiar insults surged again, but this time, my heart was still as water. It was time for this play to end. I contacted Sarah and several media outlets known for their rigorous reporting. I didn't play my ultimate game-changing evidence, but I gave them enough ammunition. The next day, the public opinion battlefield saw a sudden shift in the tide. Sarah's column published an in-depth analysis. its title hitting the nail on the head, The Perfect Script? And of contradictions and suspicions in the Chloe. The article didn't just list facts dryly. Instead, it used fluid narration to connect the illogical points, the perfectly timed distress call, the assistant's unexplained large sums of money in her account, the intricate ties between the Roberts and that private hospital, like puzzle pieces, gradually forming the outline of another story. At the same time, several media outlets simultaneously released the full video of Chloe's provocative scene at the office door. No editing, no suggestive captions, just the raw footage and sound. In the video, her tearful accusations appeared weak and hollow under my calm questioning. The fleeting panic that crossed her face when I exposed her crumbling lies was captured clearly by high-definition cameras. Sometimes, the truth only needs to be presented in its entirety. I logged into my social media account and wrote just one sentence: "The actors are tired, and it's time for the audience to wake up. See you in court." Below the brief text was an official screenshot of a legal notice. This combination of moves was swift, precise, and ruthless. The public, previously swayed by emotion, finally began to reflect in the face of the complete chain of evidence and the calm narration. After watching the full video, my face hurts. Who was manipulating public opinion all along? How do you explain Sophia's financial issues? It's chilling to think about. If even the hospital's diagnosis is questionable, then the suicide. Support all the way. Let the law speak. The tide of public opinion had completely turned. I stood by the office's floor-to-ceiling windows, watching some reporters downstairs begin to pack up their equipment, while others frantically explained things into their phones. Sunlight pierced through the clouds and streamed in. The reversal in public sentiment was like a tsunami, impacting everyone involved. I had turned off most of my social media notifications, but I could still feel the external uproar from the sporadic push alerts and the hesitant expressions of my team members. I didn't expect Marcus to be the first one to crack. He came directly to my apartment building. This time, he didn't pound on the door or shout. He simply stood there like a ghost, still dressed in his suit, but radiating an air of profound defeat. His eyes revealed deep fatigue and a nearly desperate clarity. I initially intended to ignore him, but he stood there so stubbornly that he caught the attention of the security guard. To avoid unnecessary trouble, I finally went downstairs. "Grace," he began, his voice severely hoarse, carrying a tentative, almost pleading tone. "Can we talk?" I thought there was nothing left for us to say. I stated, my tone distant as I stood a few steps away from him. I saw the full video. He took an eager step forward, his eyes filled with complex pain. "And those analytical reports, I checked them myself." He took a deep breath, as if expending all his strength to utter the next words. "David, my aide. He found some things. Sophia, Chloe's aide. The money in her account, its final destination is connected to an overseas shell company controlled by the family." He stared intently into my eyes, as if searching for a sliver of confirmation, or a chance for forgiveness. "And the hospital Chloe was admitted to, the family is indeed the largest donor, and the attending physician's wife works for a foundation under the family's umbrella." He couldn't continue. These facts, which he had personally verified, were like stinging slaps, shattering his long-held beliefs, and crushing his confidence and pride as a decision-maker. I watched him quietly. This man who had once always carried himself with such arrogance in my presence, now resembled a prisoner awaiting judgment. There was no triumphant satisfaction in my heart, only a desolate calm. "So?" I asked indifferently. "Mr. Marcus has clarified everything. And then what?" My calm seemed to sting him. The last trace of color drained from his face, and his lips trembled slightly. "Grace, I'm sorry. I didn't know she would." "You didn't know?" I cut him off, a hint of suppressed sarcasm finally entering my voice. "Marcus, you didn't not know. You just didn't want to know. You reveled in Chloe's obsession and dependence, in the feeling of being needed by two women. Your ignorance indulged her and condoned her repeatedly pushing my boundaries. Now that the truth is out, can a dismissive 'I didn't know' and 'I'm sorry' erase everything?" My interrogation left him speechless. His tall frame swayed slightly, his eyes filled with complete panic and regret. He opened his mouth, then finally hung his head dejectedly. "I know it's too late for words, but I have to tell you. I've terminated all ongoing cooperation between Hayes and the family." I raised an eyebrow. That was a concrete step. He looked up, his eyes bloodshot but filled with desperate resolve. "And I will hold a press conference to clarify everything. I will admit my mistakes. My blindness. I will clear your name. Clear my name? I looked at him, suddenly finding it somewhat laughable. My innocence never needed him to restore. That's your business, Marcus, I said, turning to leave. What you do has nothing to do with me. We were over the moment you walked out of our engagement for her. Don't come looking for me again. This time, he didn't stop me. I stepped into the elevator, and the metal doors slowly closed, cutting off his figure, which seemed to have had its soul instantly drained away. I knew his realization was genuine, and his pain was real, but this belated justice meant nothing to me, who had already been left so deeply wounded. I watched Marcus's press conference livestream from Julian's office. On the screen, Marcus looked haggard, but his eyes were clearer and heavier than ever before. He didn't evade or shirk responsibility, openly admitting that due to personal emotional bias, he failed to distinguish right from wrong, made a wrong decision on the engagement day, and indulged and indirectly fueled false accusations and online bullying against me. He announced that Hayes would immediately terminate all business collaborations with the family and offered his most sincere apologies to me and all the misled public for his past actions. He didn't mention Chloe by name, but every word was like a knife, severing all past ambiguity and possibility. When the live stream ended, the office fell silent. Julian turned off the screen, then turned to face me, standing by the window. His voice level, "How do you feel?" I watched the bustling traffic outside. The city was still vibrant and noisy, as if the tumultuous entanglements had never happened. "Nothing," I said, turning around, my face completely serene and calm. Just the correction of a mistake. More importantly, I looked at him, my gaze sharp and expectant. "I think that new energy cooperation project you mentioned has high feasibility. Mr. Julian, would you be interested in discussing it in detail?" A faint smile flickered in Julian's deep eyes. He rose, picked up a thick business proposal from his office desk, and handed it to me. "The business proposal is here, Ms. Grace. Cooperation is based on mutual benefit. I admire your ability and courage, but I value your future potential more." He paused, his tone subtly earnest. "This project can be the beginning of our deep collaboration." I took the business proposal, heavy in my hands, as if holding a brand new future. "Absolutely." I met his gaze without a hint of fear. "I'm also very much looking forward to expanding into new territory with a partner as formidable as Mr. Julian." My relationship with Julian began as a mutually beneficial partnership, and in the process of jointly opposing external adversaries, an indescribable trust and understanding developed. Now, with the dust settled, we stand at a new starting point. What we see in each other's eyes is no longer an ally to be used or an opponent to be wary of, but an attractive presence with whom we can move forward side by side. The past relationship, filled with betrayal, lies, and struggles, was like sand scattered by the wind, no longer able to leave any trace in my heart. I left the greenhouse of family dependence, and with my own abilities, teamed up with Julian to gradually elevate the new company to a height that drew industry attention. I am no longer anyone's accessory. I am Grace, a woman who rebuilt a kingdom from ruins and personally seized her own destiny. A new chapter has begun, and this time, I will write my own script. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any thoughts about this story, feel free to share them in the comments section. Here is Roses and Love, sharing stories about marriage and women every day. See you tomorrow.